Xiao is poised to make his entrance in Genshin Impact relatively soon. We know 1.3 is on the way. It's the end of January, so what good stuff do you guys have to look forward to when this character is coming out? What sort of team composition ideas should you guys be thinking about, as well as gear and equipment? A lot of that stuff, at least one of them, you guys aren't going to see coming unless you've been in the Discord hanging out with us on Twitch as well. So let's get in here and take a look at Xiao. He's been buffed up. If you looked at him a long time ago, some of the sneak peek stuff from way back in the day when he first was on the original beta, he's now basically much better than before, and this is a big reason why his crit hit rate scaling now. This used to be something different. Now he gets free critical rates every time you level him up. Once you take him to 90, he gets 24.2% free crit rate. That's an insane amount, and I think only one other character in the game does this right now that I can think of, maybe two. I know, like Diluc, the boy Diluc is out there with a big crit rate. Also, he has a huge base attack, 349, also massive base attack there, and a substantial amount of defense as well, which is nice because you don't want him to take too much damage. He's going to be hurting himself on top of that. Now, his normal attack talents, the multipliers on them are pretty decent. He does have a couple multi-hit skills, the first one as well as the fourth one here, but he's not going to work very well with Crescent Pike at all because he's going to be doing animal damage most of the time, and that weapon is going to be giving you a physical damage bonus. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about weapon types, which we're already kind of hinting on. But his multipliers, very nice. He's going to be attacking moderately quickly, and he's going to be doing some nice stuff with his normal attack string. This is where a lot of his damage is going to come from. But on top of that, he's also going to have a lot of damage coming from other sources, such as his elemental skill. His elemental skill comes with multiple charges, starts with 2 charges, even at C0, which is awesome. And it does hit substantially hard. As you can see, you take this bad boy to level 10, it's a 455% multiplier. Now, it's not elemental burst damage, but it's very high damage on a 2-charge skill that only has a 10-second cooldown. This does animal damage, and you can sort of cleave people with it because he lunges forward. So you'll be able to hit multiple people with this, and that's going to be very nice there. So his elemental burst is really what puts his whole kit in motion here. You guys know what he does. He puts on the Yaksha mask, and this has been just changed a little bit here, so he can jump really high with it. Changes his AoE damage and attack damage to animo damage. Yes. It's very amazing, and it's going to buff up his charge attack damage and his normal attack damage by a substantial amount. This is going to be like wearing multiple pieces of the Gladiator set. As you can see, level 10 here, once you max it out, wait, no Constellations, 95.2% increased damage to normal charge attacks and plunging attacks. That's massively huge. That is literally like wearing 3 pieces of the Gladiator set almost there. That's substantially it's a huge buff. It's a huge buff there. On top of that, what's the downside? You're going to be draining a couple percent of your HP every second there, as at level 10, 2% HP at level 1, 3% HP, so it's going to cost you less HP to keep it active the higher level it is. So another reason to level this bad boy up. Also, the duration in cooldown, very nice. 18-second cooldown, 15-second duration. This is huge. This is huge. Now, it does leave the battlefield. It will end if you leave the battlefield. Excuse me. It will end if you leave the battlefield. So you want to build a team composition where he can stay out there, drain that HP, be safe, and make utilization of that full 15-second duration. Swap him out, right? Do some stuff with your other characters, and then swap him back in and get him ready to go. It also costs 70 energy, so energy recharge, going to be a pretty decent thing there, as well as other characters who can create energy particles at a whim for him to pick up, so you can get this elemental burst back and ready to go there. So this is basically what he's about. He's a very easy character. He just wants to get in there and dunk on people. Extremely powerful. Now, if you've been access to some sneak peek stuff, do realize that this stuff right here, the Shadow of the Warrior, this should not be what he's going to be using when he comes out. We're getting that new world boss, and that should be what he's using from that world boss. That could be changed tentatively, but I'm pretty sure that's what we know as of right now. He's not going to be using the child stuff. He's going to have that new world boss, and that's the stuff that you're going to be utilizing with him there. Now, he also has some nice Ascensions here. These are not Constellations. These are Ascensions, so you guys get them for free at C0. While under the effect of Bane of Evil, all of his damage is going to be increased by 5%, and then every 3 seconds, it goes up by another 5%, up to a maximum of 25%. So yet another reason you want to maintain that 15-second duration. You want to be on the field the entire time, because the longer you're on the field, the more damage you do over time. And that's a huge deal there. You don't want to pop his ult and leave, right? It'd be like if you were playing with Child and you go into melee form, you just swap him out right away. You get very little utilization out of that huge burst damage window there, except for, unlike Child, there's no benefit for leaving early. You don't get your energy back or anything like that. You just lose your elemental burst. So keep that in mind. His second Ascension here, when using his elemental skill, it increases the damage of other uses of the elemental skill by 15%. This lasts for 7 seconds and has a maximum of 3 stacks. Now, this is pretty important because this effect lasts for 7 seconds. So what this means is you're not really going to want to just spam the skill, although I guess you can, because you'll use a skill, right? 2 charges, use a skill, buff lasts for 7 seconds, use another skill. At least 3 seconds later, it's going to refresh that buff, the 15% damage buff. It's going to refresh it, make the buff go up to 2 stacks, and then it's going to have another 11 seconds before it wears off, which gives you time to utilize one more use of his elemental skill. So you don't want an elemental skill, because then your buffs are going to wear off, that stack's going to be gone, and you're going to lose your stack from his second Ascension here. So what you're going to want to do is use an elemental skill, attack a little bit, then use another elemental skill, and then attack a little bit, and then that third use will come back up, and then you'll get the big 30% damage bonus there. So that's going to be something for a playstyle thing you guys gotta have to swap up and think about. You can't just spam his elemental skills. I guess you can, but you're going to lose out on that damage bonus there. So Constellations here, the first one here, you get a third charge on your E, which is pretty cool. Another use, and also like we just talked about, you get to 3 stacks of his wind cycling. So you can elemental skill, wait a little bit, elemental skill, get the 4th charge, right? Get that refresh, and then elemental skill again. So that's a pretty big Constellation boost there for his elemental skill. His second one here, while he's not in the party, he has 25% free energy recharge. That's pretty nice, right? You get in there, use your elemental burst, do a bunch of damage, and then you swap out. And then during those 3-4 seconds while you're off the battlefield, he's going to get extra energy recharge. People are generating particles, all of that good stuff there. Now keep that in mind. Another thing that you can do if you don't get Constellation 2, you generate those elemental particles, and like you can for every other character in the game, before they're absorbed in your active character, you swap back into Xiao and pick them up, and you get bonus energy regeneration if you're the active character and you are the one actually absorbing those particles. So I know a lot of you guys out there relatively new to Genshin, or maybe something that's not talked about all the time, constantly get asked the questions, how are you getting your elemental burst back on certain characters so fast? Swap into them, absorb them, and get that huge bonus to the energy absorption in your elemental burst energy. So that's huge there as well. Constellation 4, when he falls below half HP, gets 100% defense bonus. That's pretty nice. It's not like game breaking though. It makes it a little bit easier for you to survive, right? If you get hit, you're not going to die. It lets you do like wonky team comps where you don't really need to protect him. He just kind of walks around. Not that good though, in my opinion. Not really all that game breaking. And then his final one here is going to be the Conqueror of Evil. While under the effects of his elemental burst, hitting at least 2 opponents with his plunging attack gives him 1 stack of his elemental skill. So that's pretty good. And then for the next 1 second, he can ignore the cooldown of his elemental skill. So this is going to allow you to get in there, plunge attack, elemental skill, plunge attack, elemental skill, plunge attack, elemental skill. It's a different kind of play style that he doesn't really have access to. I don't think it's game breaking. It's going to be very nice for burst damage because you'll be able to plunge, because remember, his elemental burst gives him that plunge attack bonus as well, and then skill, and then plunge, and then skill, and then plunge, and then skill, and then plunge, and then skill. It's very good, all right? You can't really undersell how powerful that is. Now one of Xiao's biggest weaknesses is that he's an Animo type character, and you can't use the Viridescent set to swirl Animo and reduce Animo resist. There's only 3 ways in the game to actually reduce Animo resistances, and sadly they're all locked behind Constellations. The easiest one you guys have access to, but probably one that's not worth doing, is the Traveler. The Traveler, the final Constellation here, when you hit someone with their Gust Surge, their elemental burst, it's going to drop the Animo res by 20% there. This is also going to pick up your enemies and throw them away from you. So if you don't like that, you don't like using the Traveler, you haven't leveled them up, it's not really going to be an option for you. Now, sadly, the other ones also probably won't be options for you either, because they come from Constellations on 5-star characters. It's one of his biggest downfalls is you can't reduce Animo resist unless you have these certain things. Venti's C2 reduces Animo resist by 12% for 10 seconds. And then if someone's airborne, it's another 12%. And then his final Constellation, Storm Defiance, enemies who take damage from his elemental burst have their Animo resistance reduced by a further 20%. So he can give you up to a 44% Animo resist during his ultimate. Gene at C4, actually, and I like Gene a lot. If you actually have like a C4 Gene, while you're standing in Dandelion Breeze for elemental burst field, their opponents in there have 40% less Animo resist. And on top of that, another cool thing is for C2, because if you have the C4, you'll have the C2. If you have Gene pick up an elemental orb or a particle, all party members have 15% bonus attack speed, and movement speed for 15 seconds there. So that's gonna be very, very nice with your boy Xiao as well, right? Who's the animal resist and make him attack really fast, move around the battlefield really fast. That's cool, but that's one of his biggest downsides. Those are your 3 only options right now for reducing the resistances on your enemies. Now for weapons here, we have some cool selections to talk about here. Now, remember, he's getting a bunch of crit rate. So if you need some more crit rate, the deathmatch is actually pretty powerful for you guys to have access to here. The deathmatch is going to give you 36% more crit rate, but the downside of the deathmatch is that the ability isn't really that good. It's tied to the battle pass. You have to pay for it, and the attack on it is not that good as well. But this is kind of short up by the fact that he has got good base attack. Still not my favorite weapon though, at all in any way, shape, or form. Now, because he does have that bonus free crit rate, a very strong 4-star weapon, one that you can pick up right now from the Stardust, whatever the more expensive Star Glitter is, the one that you don't get that much. That one you can buy the Black Cliff Poland. Now, this is going to be a very strong weapon, especially when we start talking about some of his artifact builds. The one that is kind of, you know about it? Do you know about it? It's very strong. So this one gives you very nice base attack, 510, and then 55 free crit damage. So he's got that free crit chance. You can stack crit damage on him, a little bit more crit chance. You're gonna get some very nice builds where you can kind of emulate the Ganyu style playstyle or the Nukeya style playstyle, where you can get a bunch of crit rate on them and then stack a bunch of crit damage on them. And then if you're in there, you know, trashing on some enemies, right? A special ability here, it's okay, right? You'll get a stacking attack percent bonus if you decide to buy a bunch of these out there because you have that much Star Glitter. The refinement rank 5 here, 24% free attack for 30 seconds. For 30 seconds, and it stacks up to 3 times. So it goes all the way up to 72% at refinement rank 5, 36% at refinement rank 1. And that's on top of the crit damage that it's giving you and the nice solid base attack. So this is a very solid pickup. If you're looking for Xiao, this is a very good weapon that you can go pick up for him. I think it's his best 4-star weapon. Can't use the Crescent Pike. Use maybe like the Favonies for energy recharge and stuff like that. I still love this weapon the most. Now, obviously, the 5-star weapons are incredibly powerful here. Primordial Jade Wing Spear, incredibly strong rate on hit, gives you an attack percent bonus here, and it also is going to increase your damage by X amount based on your refinement rank. Refinement rank 1 is 12% damage here if you're at max stacks, and you get stacks every 0.3 seconds. So you attack very fast. You're a spear user, you get those attack stacks up there, you're gonna be good to go there, and it does give you crit rate. So kind of like the opposite of the Black Cliff Pole. Since you have bonus crit rate here and bonus crit rate from his level up Ascensions, then you're going to be gaining a bunch of free crit rate, maybe like 10 or 20% in your substats, and then stack a bunch of crit damage and attack percent. You'll be able to hit for a bunch of numbers there. Other weapons that are very strong to look forward to. Obviously, all the 5-star weapons are very good here. The Skyward Spine's pretty good, right? Increased attack speed, that's pretty nice. Energy recharge, so you can get the energy recharge in the Skyward Spine. Skyward Spine has incredibly high base attack, just like the Jade Wing Spear, and you're going to be getting that increased attack speed, increased free critical hit rate from the Skyward Spine as well, based on your refinement rank. Starts at 8%, and then you're going to have a little bit of a swirly damage every once in a while. And if you have the Vortex Vanquisher, the shield strength there, you're not going to be able to utilize it on Xiao, but you could maybe in the future with the patch 1.3 buffs, or maybe you have someone else who puts shields on them like Diona, then that's going to give him increased shield strength, which makes him tank more damage on the battlefield, makes him safer. That's cool there, and you're going to get a bunch of attack percent from the Vortex Vanquisher. So another solid 5-star option there for you. Now, when we move into, you guys know, Gladiator set, that's the one you're putting on him, right? This is the go-to set for Xiao, straight up, because if you're wielding a sword claymore or a polearm, guess what? We're using a polearm. Normal attack damage increased by 35%, and then that free 18% attack is pretty nice there. I also get asked a lot of questions. What about the Viridescent Venerer set for Xiao? Is this going to be good for him? It does animo damage, and it does swirl damage up. It is going to swirl a lot, but swirl's damage at endgame, guys, it's really just more of a supportive type thing that you use early on, and it's nothing super crazy because it doesn't scale off your attack, your crit rate, or your crit chance. So for a main damage dealer like Xiao, he's really, the vast majority of his damage is not coming from swirl at all in any way, shape, or form. It's coming from his normal attacks, his charge attacks, his plunge attacks, his elemental skill, all that stuff from his elemental burst buffs, all of that stuff up. Viridescent Venerer set, it also doesn't give you a way to reduce animo resist for him, so it's not that good. Now, the last one we want to talk about here is one that you may have or may not have thought about. Now, the Blizzard Strayer setting is incredibly powerful in a lot of characters right now, even making people like Kea rise up from basically kicking open the grave and coming back out and having fun. They're here to play now. So why would this be good on him? Now, remember, while he's in his elemental burst, all of his stuff is animo damage. His elemental skill is animo damage. In animo, gives you the swirl effect. Now, the swirl effect allows you to do cool stuff, such as swirl and spread elements around. So what you would want is you want a support character like Kea, or maybe even like Diona, or I guess if you have Ganyu, you can use her as well. And then you combine one of those three characters with your boy Xingqiu. And what happens here is you have the AoE cryo effect going on, and then Xingqiu, you build him for just 100% uptime or as close as possible to his elemental burst. So every time Xiao attacks with his normal attack string, you get the hydro attack come out there, and then you swirl the hydro into everything that's got cryo, and you freeze everything continuously as long as you have that AoE cryo effect out there, like Kea's elemental burst, or Ganyu's, or even like the little tiny field for Diona. And that's going to allow you to do a lot of crazy things with him, right? Take this build, Blizzard Strider, freeze team, Kea, and then Xingqiu, Xiao, and then whoever it is that you want to use. If you want to use a second cryo character like Diona for the barriers and another AoE cryo effect, you get the ×2 cryo elemental resonance party bonus there. That's going to be nice. That's 15% more free crit rate. And this is going to give you 40% crit rate here. And then you can get the additional 23 from leveling him up that we talked about earlier, 24.2. That's going to give you 64% crit rate for free. And this allows you to do crazy things like we do with Kea builds right now. It's basically like a reverse Kea build. Instead of building Kea for the damage dealer and having Kea in your party with a Xingqiu and do an infinite freeze, and then having the Anemo character swirl, or having someone superconduct for Kea, you have Xiao doing all the damage, and then you have the Hydro character, Xingqiu, and Kea, the cryo character, support Xiao. So it's basically a team composition that we already have. And the Blizzard Strider set, the two-piece, yes, it's wasted, but even on someone like Kea, a lot of his damage isn't coming from his elemental burst or his elemental skill, especially if he's C0 or even a low Constellation Kea. It's coming from those auto attacks and those charge attacks and those normal attacks. Same thing as Xiao here. So you could do that, and that's going to be a fantastic way for you to get a really greedy build out there and working. And if you want to prepare for that, it's going to be really good. There are some downsides, obviously. If you can't freeze the enemy, well, guess what? You're not going to get the freeze bonus, but if you can land cryo on them, then you at least get the 20%. But there's not a ton of enemies, right? Usually when we're having these small little semantic things, it's usually slimes. Usually if you're against like a cryo slime, it's bad, right? But on top of that, though, right, you can have a crazy, crazy, crazy team here. So really think about that. That's 64% free crit rate. You have something like we talked about earlier, the Black Cliff Pole becomes an insanely strong weapon. Now this gives you a ton of crit damage. You wear a crit damage circlet, and you have the Blizzard Strider set on in that freeze composition with Xingqiu and Kea. And then you have like whoever else that you want. You could put Jean in there if you wanted to, if you have that C4 Jean. You could do Vency if you wanted to do that. You could do Bennett if you wanted to do that. You could do another cryo character for the free crit rate. Any of those things work well in this team there. And you could even, in the 1.3, if you have Zhongli will actually be a way for you to reduce animal resistance there as well, from what we know of right now in his 1.3 buffs, because while you have that shield on that Zhongli puts with his hold E, it reduces all physical and all element resist from enemies next to you by 20% as well. So that's another character that you can use with Xiao to get that animal resistance there. So definitely think about the Blizzard Strider set. The Gladiator set is very strong, but keep this in mind as well. The 35% normal damage up is very good, but it's only normal damage, so it's not affecting your charge attack damage. It's not affecting your jump damage. It's not affecting your elemental skill damage there. So keep that in mind as well. It only affects one of the caveats of your build here. And on top of that, you were already getting 95.2%. I almost want to say 105, but it's 95.2% of that bonus already. Now, that bonus is still going to be good. It's still going to increase your damage, but you're not going to get the full 33%. It's not diminishing return. It's more of like a diminishing effect from stacking the same damage increase over and over. So you already have this huge bonus to that, and it's going to be a better increase in your overall damage for you to go on that freeze team, that cryo team, get the free crit rate, boost your crit damage to the sky, and still have a 95% increase to your normal attack, charge attack, even your plunging attack. It's a very strong elemental burst, and it's going to allow you to do that super greedy build that we were talking about there with this character. So let me know your thoughts about Xiao down below. If you want to see more stuff for Genshin Impact, make sure you check out the channel. I'm gonna have a link of a lot of videos down there, guides, etc. I'm excited for 1.3. What's your favorite part about 1.3? It's probably gonna be Xiao though, because you're watching a Xiao video, right? I mean, I don't even know why I asked you. Anyways, guys, thanks for coming out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, guys.